Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. We'll start our Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu Anudi class with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. So we're discussing from the Nectar of Devotion by Srila Prabhupada, and we have started yesterday the 7th chapter. So we discussed till now that Srila Rupa Goswami starts this chapter by describing the primary characteristics of devotional service, and then 6 more characteristics of devotional service, that is Kleshagni, Shubhada, then Sandrananda Visheshatma, Sudurlabha, and Mokshalabhutakrit, Sri Krishna Karshini, all this. And then he describes about the eligibility and qualification for the practice of this devotional service. And Rupa Goswami says that attraction to the holy names, taste for this practice of bhakti is the only qualification. But this qualification is attained by the mercy of the devotees of the Lord. And then from that third chapter and an entire fourth chapter described about how devotional service surpasses liberation, and there were 30 quotes on moksha lahutakrit. And then in the fifth chapter it was described how bhakti is not dependent on any of the external material qualifications, on pious birth, on varnashram dharma, and on rituals of purification. So bhakti is an independent process, not dependent on any of the external qualifications. And then in the sixth chapter there is a list of the 64 limbs of devotional service which were described. So, and then from 7th chapter onwards, in the 7th chapter, the first 18 of the 64 limbs are described. And yesterday we had discussed about 3. So first was accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, Guru Padashraya. So first we have to approach a spiritual master and take shelter from him. That means we have to start getting instructions from the spiritual master. And then after we are sufficiently convinced and we are practicing on a regular basis, then we can take initiation from spiritual master and start receiving instruction. Shri Krishna Diksha Adi Sikshanam. So we take Diksha, and by Diksha, that is the beginning. Initiation process is the beginning of the spiritual practice in a very, very determined and committed way. And we discussed about the scenario of the ISKCON organization, how we are stationed and how we should put faith and get connected to a Guru Parampara, to our Sampradaya through our spiritual master. And then third was that we have to serve. First, we have to take shelter, then accept initiation. And then after accepting initiation, we have to serve the spiritual master. So this is a progression. First, we get connected to the process, and then we become more and more serious and sincere, and then we take initiation. And after we take initiation, we have to serve the spiritual master. And again in the ISKCON scenario, everybody may not be able to serve their spiritual masters personally. Then we should focus on the instructions which are given by the spiritual masters. Rather than doing Vapu Seva, we can do Vani Seva. Vani means the words, the instructions given by the spiritual master. So they are always available. As Prabhupada would say, I am in my books. So devotees, they have to read Srila Prabhupada's books on a regular basis. And we saw in the end yesterday that there are 6 levels of introduction to Krishna consciousness. What is Krishna consciousness? Then I like Krishna consciousness. Then I trust Krishna consciousness. After that, one become a committed follower. I follow Krishna consciousness. And then his life is for Krishna, this to achieve this ultimate goal of love of God. My life is Krishna consciousness. And then after that, we try to preach, spread this message. My mission is Krishna consciousness. So that's how in one of the verses in third canto, Kapila Dev is when Kapila Dev describes, sorry, before that, when Kardam Muni is being served by Devahuti, so the qualities of Devahuti is described, how she is serving very faithfully, very loyally her husband Kardam Muni. Vishrambhena Atma Shauchena Gauravena cha Damena cha Shushrushaya Sauridena Vacha Madhuraya Chabho. So Devahuti, she served Kardamuni with great intimacy and respect, with control over senses, with love and with sweet words. So these are the qualities a devotee should have when he is serving the spiritual master. So when we are connected to a parampara, then there are some qualities. When we are connected to a process of spiritual life, there are some qualities which we should develop. Narad Muni describes about those qualities in his story of past life. In the first canto it comes tasya prashritasya hatainashah shraddhanasya balasya dantasya anucharasya cha. So Narad Muni says, I was completely attached, anurakta, I was completely attached to the devotees. So attachment to the devotees is a very, very important. We have to uh, we have to be very, very close to devotees, share our hearts, as Rupa Goswami describes in Nectar of Instruction, that there are 6 types of dealings between devotees: dadati, pratigrihanati, guhyam akhyati pritchati, bhunkte bhojayate. Give gifts and accept gifts, then give prasad, and if somebody is offering prasad, you accept it with lots of respect. And most important is, we have to share our hearts and hear from some other devotee in confidence. So anurakta, in this way we become attached to devotees. So we cannot share our hearts with non-devotees because they will not understand our devotional sentiments. So Narad Muni says that I was attached to the devotees, anurakta. Then he says prashritasya. Prashritasya means I was an obedient follower. So that's how a devotee, a Krishna conscious devotee, should be an obedient follower of the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada and given by spiritual masters and given by the present acharyas and diksha gurus and siksha gurus, senior devotees. We have to become obedient followers. Prashritasya hatainashaha. Hatainasha means we have to stop all our sinful activities, because sinful activities, they are like anchor. We cannot practice, we cannot move ahead fast in Krishna consciousness if we are not giving up our sinful activities. And we heard the story of this boatman who did not remove his anchor. Prashritasya hatainashaha shraddadhanasya. We should have unflinching faith in the process. After all, this whole process of Krishna consciousness is a process of increasing our faith from very, very lower levels of Kanishtha to a level of Uttamadhikari. And then Hatainasha Shraddadhanasya Dantasya. We should try our best to control our senses. Nobody else is going to help us in this process of controlling ourselves. We can hear all the instructions, we'll be given all support, but ultimately we have to do our work. We have to consciously make the decision that I want to become sense controlled. I want to advance in Krishna consciousness. Till the time the feeling of I want to comes, it will be difficult. So we have to become eager from have to want to. I have to chant my rounds. That is not right way of right motivation. We have to come to the level of I want to chant. तस्यैव मे अनुरक्तस्य प्रश्रितस्य हतैनशः श्रद्धधानस्य बालस्य दान्तस्य अनुचरस्य च. We have to become an obedient follower. So this is about serving the spiritual masters. And then fourth thing Srila Rupa Goswami describes is sadhu vartamanu vartmanam, following in the footsteps of saintly people. So sadhu vartama means the proper path which is laid down by the acharyas, by our seniors. So that is the path which is composed of the rules from the scriptures. So that is our path. We don't have to transgress the rules which are given in the scriptures. These are our path. We have to follow strictly the rules which are given in the scriptures. We have to follow the saintly authorities. And we may have so many authorities in our current scenario. There may be a temple authority, there may be a guru, and ideally both of them should work together. But many times it is not possible. We should serve our whatever our temple authorities, our senior devotees, they say. And the temple authorities, they are working under the spiritual master's guidance. So therefore we have to try to follow whatever our immediate authority is saying. That is sadhu vartmanu vartmanam. And at the same time we should know, as here it is written in the slide, following the scriptural rules, that means one should follow the scriptural rules which give the highest benefit and are devoid of hardship, by which the previous devotees easily progressed. So when a leader traverses a path, he faces the maximum distress. Maximum problem comes for the leader because he is making the path for everybody else to follow. So the duty of a disciple and a follower is he has to just put faith in the leader and just silently follow the path which is laid down by the leader. So therefore we have to follow the great sadhus, great saintly persons who are in agreement with our spiritual master and our parampara. So we have to have a checklist also. Sadhu, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. We have to take guidance from our spiritual masters, devotees, and the scriptures. And all three should be in one line. But if we see some discrepancy, then we have to refer to other two. So that is called following the footsteps of saintly people. And in this respect, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes a very, very beautiful verse from Brahma Yamal Purana. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Ekantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpatayeva Kalpate. So this verse says that even if a person is attained to have steadiness in the practice of pure bhakti, but if he rejects the rules of scriptures, that is Smriti, Puran, and Pancharatra, then he is most fortunate. And the bhakti he performs will create problems for him and problems for others. So therefore, Jiva Goswami writes in the commentary to this verse, he says that vidhim vina. What does the word vidhim vina mean? Vidhim vina means bhakti with disregard for the rules because of having no faith in the scriptures. So somebody may be practicing Krishna consciousness, but because he has no faith in the scriptures, he does not follow those rules which are given in the scriptures. So that does not mean somebody is not following the scriptures because of ignorance. That is not the point which is made here. In ignorance, somebody does not know the rules, that is a different thing. Because spiritual process, bhakti is so very powerful. There is a verse in the Bhagavatam which says, Yanasthaya naro rajan na pramadiyeta karechit dhavannyamilyavanetre na skhalenna patediha. So this process of bhakti is so powerful. Even if somebody runs with the eyes closed, he will not trip or fall. So what does this mean? This means that even if somebody is not conversant with the rules and regulations of the scriptures, he is ignorant, he is a new person, even if he practices bhakti, he will not fall down. Very soon he will come to the very right standards. So therefore, this verse which is there in the slide talks about A person who is rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures, he is not following the footsteps of saintly person because he has no faith in them. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that those who do not strictly follow the rules and regulations which are described in the scriptures, they are called sahajiyas. So sahajiyas are those devotees who are externally practicing Krishna bhakti. They may be chanting, dancing, they may be showing the symptoms of ecstasy also, but they don't follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures, like following the regulative principles, not associating with non-devotees, and they may have all the bad character. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, those who have imagined everything to be cheap, and they have concocted their own idea, they do not follow the scriptural injunctions. They are called sahajiyas. And these people, utpatayeva kalpate, these people, they create disturbance for themselves and they create disturbance for others also. And at the time of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, this Gaudiya Vaishnavism was not a reputed organization, not a reputed sampradaya. Because that time there was so much of Sahajiyism which was there in the sampradaya that all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Bengalis, they would carry fish in one hand and bead bag in other hand. And they would tell, oh, this is Jaler Phal, ye to jal ka phal hai, ye kha sakte hain. So that was Sahajiya. And there are so many Sahajiyas, Apasampradayas. Sakhi Bheki, Aula Baula, Karta Bhaja, Neda, and all these things are Gauranga Nagaris. They had their different mantra also. So a devotee should follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures very nicely. And therefore, Prabhupada also quotes about this Buddhist philosophy. And he says that Buddhist philosophy is rejected. We do not follow the Buddhism, the philosophy which is given by Buddhist Gautam Buddha, because that philosophy is not in line with the scriptures. And therefore, Prabhupada writes that Buddhists or other religionists who do not care for revealed scriptures sometimes say that there are many devotees of Lord Buddha who show devotional service to Buddha and who therefore should be considered to be devotees, because Gautam Buddha is an incarnation of God. He is an avatar of Krishna. So there, his devotees should also be called as devotees. But the scriptures say no. So Rupa Goswami in this verse, he very, very clearly says, Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina. Whoever is practicing devotional service and is disregarding the principles of the scriptures, is not accepting scriptures, his bhakti will create havoc in the society. And Prabhupada in the purport, in this commentary, he writes that at the time of Gautam Buddha, why he rejected all the scriptures? He is the incarnation of God. He is Krishna's incarnation. So why he propagated atheistic principles? There was a reason for it. Because at the time when Gautam Buddha appeared, he had a purpose to appear in this world. At the time of when after Kali Yuga started and Brahmana, they started falling down from their levels of spiritual life. So they started misinterpreting scriptures. They started practicing all wrong things. They were doing all sinful activities. And one of the things which Brahmanas were doing was they were killing so many of the animals rampantly. And they would say that the scriptures, they say that animal killing is allowed. So we are killing animals, because in the scriptures, actually, there are some places where there is some concession given that if somebody cannot control their senses, cannot even resist eating meat, they can eat, but in certain circumstances. So these Brahmanas, they took those principles and they started killing animals rampantly. So Gautam Buddha, he felt compassion for the animals and he said, okay, scriptures, they say that animal killing is allowed. I am telling you, reject the scriptures. So that's how the scriptures were taken out of the picture. So therefore, there was a purpose. And but still, Gautam Buddha, because he rejected the scriptures, we do not follow Gautam Buddha. We offer all respects to the Gautam Buddha because in incarnation of God, but We do not follow the words which are spoken by Gautam Buddha. So that is called following the footsteps of saintly people. And then fifth is the inquiring about eternal religious principles, that is Sadharma Pricha. So this is from Narada Purana. So this verse says that those whose minds are attached to understanding the bhakti of the Lord quickly attain all their desired goals. So when we come to the process of Krishna consciousness, we should inquire about the various details of bhakti. We should try to understand the intricacies of Krishna consciousness. We should not be whimsical in asking questions. One time devotees they had put a question answer booth in Kumbh Mela. One person came and he said, Maharaj, मेरी पत्नी गुम हो गई है, जरा बताएंगे कहाँ है? So these are not the questions to be asked. Another person came and said, Maharaj, मेरी शादी कब होगी? When will I get married? Can you please tell me? So when somebody comes to the spiritual teachers, they have to ask, how can I come closer to Krishna? As the sages of Naimisharanya, they asked Sud Goswami. And Sud Goswami, he glorified their questions. Muneha sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhir lokamangalam yatkritah Krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. So Sud Goswami is glorifying the sages of Naimisharanya. He is saying, oh sages, sadhu, what a wonderful question you have asked. Sadhu prishta. Because the questions which you have asked, the answer to these questions, even the questions themselves, they are empowered to create auspiciousness for the whole world. Why? Because the questions Yatkritah Krishna Samprashno, you are asking about Krishna. And whoever asks about Krishna, the answers to these questions can satisfy the mind, satisfies the senses. Yenatma suprasidati. So when we approach spiritual master, we have to ask right questions. And Prabhupada writes in the verse, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. In that he writes, absurd inquiries and blind following are condemned. So therefore, when we go to a spiritual teachers, we should ask about the spiritual principles. We should not ask about the material things. As Sanatan Goswami, when he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asked, Ke ami kene amar jare tapatre. Who am I? Why I am suffering in this material world? Please tell me. As Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was bewildered. He also asked, Oh Krishna, please, I have surrendered to you. Karpanya dosho pahatas swabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammodha cheta. Please explain the essence of the religious principles. So his question was much deeper, and he wanted to know about the real principles of spiritual life. So therefore, when we practice bhakti, we should know three things. We should know about sambandha, abhidheya, and prayojan. So these three words are the essence of all the scriptures. Veda Shastre kohe sambandha, abhidheya, prayojan, Krishna bhakti prema teen mahadhan. So all the Vedic scriptures can be categorized into three things: Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. Sambandha means knowledge about our relationship with Krishna. If we want to develop relationship with Krishna, first we should have knowledge about Krishna, knowledge about ourselves, knowledge about our relationship with Krishna. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a whole book called Dasha Moola Tattva. In that, he has described 9 things which everybody should know. So 9 things, what are these 9 things? He says, first is we should know Krishna is the supreme worshipable Lord. Aradhya Bhagwan, Brajesh Tanaya. Who is that God? He is son of Nanda Maharaj, he is Krishna. And then second, he says, Krishna is full of inconceivable potencies. He can do anything. He is full of contradictory behaviors, but all the contradictions are resolved in Krishna. He can be very near, but he can be very far. He is inside every one of us as Paramatma, but he's there in the Golok Vrindavan also. He's there in Vaikuntha also. One person came to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, you are saying God can do anything? So Prabhupada said, yes, God can do anything. So this person said, okay, can God make a stone which he cannot lift? So this is a very tricky question. So if God makes a stone which he cannot lift, that means he is not supreme powerful. So Prabhupada is such a genius. He said, yes, God can make a stone which he cannot lift and then he'll lift it. So that is the contradictory power behavior of God. So therefore, this is a second. And then we should know that Krishna can reciprocate with everyone properly. He is Akhila Rasamrit Murti. And we should know that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Now we are conditioned because of our enjoying mentality. We want to control this world. We want to enjoy in this world. We have forgotten our relationship with Krishna, and we want to enjoy the things of this world. Therefore, we are conditioned. And that is called Nitya Baddha. But by the practice of bhakti, we can become liberated and we can become mukta. We can become Nitya Mukta. So Nitya Baddha and Nitya Mukta, that's our journey. From Nitya Baddha to Nitya Mukta, from a conditioned soul to a liberated soul. That is the process, that is the journey we have to take. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that, this Nitya Baddha Jeev can also become Nitya Mukta by the process of Abhidheya, by the process of sadhana bhakti. And then we'll achieve the highest destination of prema. So we have to inquire about all these realities of life. Who are we? Why I am suffering? What is the way out? How can I approach God? Who is God? So all these things are included in this inquiry about eternal religious principles. And then sixth thing is we have to be prepared to give up everything material for Krishna's satisfaction. Krishnarthe bhog adi tyag. So it is described when you give up enjoyable objects at the time of enjoying, aiming at the pleasure of Lord, the permanent wealth situated in Vishnu Loka awaits you. So that is the difference between Kama and Prema. Kama means I want everything for myself. Atmendriya priti vancha tare boli kam. Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare prem nam. If we want to satisfy our senses, that is called lust. And whatever we do in this world, if we are not in devotional circle, if we are not spiritual minded, then it is only for our satisfaction. But when we come to bhakti, it is for Krishna's service, just like the gopis. They gave up everything. Pati sutanvaya bhratra bandhava nati vilangyate tyachyuta gata. So the gopis, they gave up their family, husbands, children, relatives, everything. So that is the highest example of giving up everything. They gave up their everything to please Krishna. So therefore, if our heart is filled with material desires, then just like for example, if there is a sponge, it is already dipped, completely soaked in some liquid. You cannot soak another liquid in that sponge. Similarly, we have our heart. If it is filled, completely soaked with the material desires, then Krishna cannot come inside. So therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami prescribes that to come closer to Krishna, first we have to remove our desire for personal sense gratification. I want to enjoy things. Two, Krishna wants to enjoy. I have to give enjoyment to Krishna. As Prabhupada would say, Krishna consciousness and sense gratification goes ill together. One time, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, in the initial days of ISKCON, Prabhupada told him that you carve the deities of Jagannath. And as he was carving the deities that time, he had a habit of smoking cigarettes also. So he was smoking cigarette and he had made the head of Jagannath Ji as the ashtray because he did not know, very new devotees. Prabhupada came and he very gently told him, he did not chastise him, scold him. He said, why do you want just a small thing to come between you and Krishna? And then he said, you smoke one cigarette less every day. So that's how Prabhupada, he brought devotee people who had no knowledge of Krishna and brought them to a standard of pure devotional service. So that's how we have to understand that We should not allow anything to come between us and the practice of bhakti. Whatever is favorable, we have to accept it. Whatever is unfavorable, we have to reject it. Anukulasya sankalpaha pratikulasya varjanam. Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls is this as asat trishna. Asat trishna means I want to enjoy things of this world, and we may get detached from the gross things of the world, but we have to get detached from the subtle things of the world. As devotees, we have to try to even come out of the attachments of the mundane things like cricket and video games. So much, sometimes we are so much attached to these things. We have to understand that anything which is taking our time and engaging us in the material things, we have to keep on minimizing it slowly. It may not happen in a day or two. Slowly, Prabhupada told Shyamsundar Prabhu, smoke one cigarette less every day. So there is a program we should have for every one of us, how I want to advance in Krishna consciousness, and we have to work accordingly in that way. So that's how we'll be able to give up everything for Krishna's satisfaction. And then he says is residing in a sacred place. And Rupa Goswami calls this as Dwaraka Adi Nivaso. So there he says that living in Dwarka or other holy places, anyone who lives in Dwarka for 1 year, 6 months, 1 month, or even half a month, whether man and woman, attains the four-handed form in the spiritual sky. So that is the glory and advantage of residing in a holy place. So therefore, we may not be able to reside in the holy place. That's why we should try to go whenever possible and go to holy places for pilgrimage for 3 4 days or 5 days or 10 days, but it should be done under the guidance of the teachers, of the senior devotees. And then he describes about Ganga Adi Nivaso also, the glory of residing in taking bath in Ganga. And this is a verse, very beautiful verse from the first canto. Yavailasa Shri Tulasi Vimishra Krishnangrirenu Abhyadikambu Netri Punati Seshan Ubhayatra Lokan Kastam na Seveta Marishyamanaha. So this is about Parikshit Maharaj. So when Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die in 7 days, so he left everything, went to the bank of the Ganga, and he was fasting there and hearing Krishna Katha. So there the verse says, the river Ganges by which the king sat to fast carries the most auspicious water. And what is water? What is Ganga? Ganga is the Pad Prakshalit Jal of Lord Vishnu. Because when Vamanadev, he lifted his leg to cover the upper planetary systems, the leg of the toe of Lord Vishnu, Vamanadev touched the coverings of the universe and it broke open, and the jal, the water of the this entire Karana ocean started coming in from that hole, and that water washed the feet of Lord Vishnu, and that is what became Ganga. So that is what is described. This water sanctifies the whole world. So Ganga flows in the heavenly planets also, middle planetary systems, Earth also, and the lower planetary systems also. So in the heavenly planets, the Ganga is called Mandakini Ganga. An earthly planet is called she's called Bhagirathi, and the lower planetary systems, Ganga is called Bhogavati Ganga. So therefore, we travel to holy places to enhance our devotional service. Gauramar Jeshabasthane Korila Brahmanarange Sheshabasthane Heribo Ami Pranai Bhakat Sange. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Gaur Amar, wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has gone, to those places I'll go, not alone, I'll go with devotees. Because when we go with the devotees, then we get to hear about the pastimes Lord performed at those places. So that is the glory of residing in the holy place. And of course, when we go to a holy place, we should not even think of doing sense gratification there. It is only for increasing our devotional credits. And then he says, another limb of this bhakti is accepting only what is necessary. So yavat arthanuvartita, whatever is, we have to do the needful, whatever is minimal required to maintain the body and the soul together. So that is the actual condition, actual position a devotee should have, and therefore Prabhupada writes that there are two types of atyahar: material atyahar and spiritual atyahar. So he says we should not do any of them. So what is material atyahar? Material atyahar means when we get attached to the things of this world, try to accumulate more and more and more. I want more, dil mange more. So that is the quality of people of this world. Aur chahiye, I want more sense gratification. That is spiritual atyahar, and that is material atyahar, and that is obvious. But what is spiritual atyahar? So Prabhupada writes that, for example, it may be said that I should chant Hare Krishna mantra at least 16 rounds every day. But if somebody thinks I will chant 64 rounds from tomorrow, and he chants 2 days 64 rounds and then 10 days gul, 10 days no chanting. क्यों? 64 माला कर लिया प्रभु जी, 10 दिन का एक साथ कर लिया. So that is spiritual atyahar. We should not endeavor beyond our capacity. Of course, we should try to increase our standards of devotional service, but it should be done gradually. If we are chanting 16 rounds for years together, try to increase at least by one. And if we are able to chant 17 rounds for over months, then okay, I want to increase a little more. So it should not be artificial, a huge leap that will not able to follow. So therefore, we have to be slow and steady in our practice of Krishna consciousness. So otherwise, if we are just thinking, okay, 16 mala ho raha hai, 4 niyam palan, I am already following principles, I am already chanting 16 rounds, but we have to slowly move forward. Otherwise, after 20-25 years, if we are just sticking to the same level of our Krishna consciousness, then we'll not be able to experience the taste. There is a comfort zone, there is a stretch zone, there is a stress zone. Comfort means chal raha hai apna bhakti. For some people it is difficult to chant 16 rounds because of their office things, so many responsibilities they have there at home. For some people it is okay, 16 mala to aise hi ho jata hai. So their life is comfortable. They should try to increase their rounds, increase their devotional practices. They have to come to stretch zone. We don't have to come to stress zone. We have to come to stretch zone. We have to be a little bit stretched in our devotional practice. So because if we are not struggling, because sadhana bhakti is like going upstream. If we are not struggling to go ahead, then we are for sure going down. So therefore, there is nothing like constant devotional service. Jahan tha udhar hi hu. No, that means you have gone back. So either we go up or we go back down. So slowly over the period of time, over the years, we have to think about how can I increase my devotional services, either chanting, reading, serving, whatever way. And therefore, the purport, Prabhupada writes, the purport is that one should not neglect following the principles of bhakti, nor one should accept the rulings of devotional service, which are more than what he can easily perform. And then there is ninth is observing fasting on Ekadashi. Hari Vasara Sammano. So Hari Vasara Sammano means observing the days when Lord Krishna appears, or these includes Ekadashi days also. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Madhavati thi bhakati janani jatane palan kori. Madhav Tithi, the appearances of Lord Krishna, or Lord Vishnu's incarnations, these days they are the mother of devotion. Bhakti Janani. We should strive to follow these very, very strictly Ekadashi days, because various devotees they follow Ekadashis in different ways. Some devotees they do Nirjal Ekadashi. Every Ekadashi Nirjal, chanting 64 rounds on Nirjal Ekadashi. Some people they take a vow of eating only fruits. Some people they say they take a vow of drinking only water. Some people they take normal Ekadashi Prasad, they chant more, they read more. So Ekadashi means we have to increase our devotional credits. Ekadashi is not a day for just meant for fasting from grains. Ekadashi is meant for increasing our devotional service. So therefore Prabhupada writes, the basic principle is not just to fast, but to increase one's faith and love for Govinda. That is the goal of Ekadashi, not just fasting. Anybody can fast. Anyone, people all over the world, they are fasting on various days. Why are we fasting? Why are we doing Ekadashi? We are doing Ekadashi to increase our faith in Krishna, increase our faith in Bhakti. And how that will happen? By getting connected to the process, by hearing more, chanting more, reading more. That is a process. Then, 10th principle is offering respects to banyan tree. Dhatri Ashwathadi Gauravam. So we have to respect Ashwatha tree. Ashwatha means banyan, and it includes Tulasi also, Amalaki also, cows, Brahmanas, and the Vaishnavas. So we have to offer all our respects to these things, these people, to the trees, Ashwatha tree, Tulasi. Tulasi is, of course, there is no doubt. Tulsi Maharani is the giver of devotion. That's why we sing Tulsi Arti every day. Prabhupada has established this Tulsi Arti in the Mangala Arti very, very nicely, because serving Tulsi is one of the limbs of devotional service. And then Amalaki is also, Amala tree is also very auspicious tree, and we have to serve the cows. Jiva Goswami writes in the commentary, when one goes to the cows, what he should do? One should tickle the cows, feed them, and circumambulate them. Lord Krishna becomes pleased when the cows are pleased. So therefore, Jiva Goswami also writes, among the other items, worship of the cows bestows the ultimate goal of worshippers for the worshippers of Krishna. So that is the worship of banyan tree. Next, giving up the company of non-devotees. Shri Krishna Vimukha Jana Sangatyagaha. So as a devotee, we have to be really very, very careful not to associate with devotees. In Nectar of Instruction, in second and third verses of Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami gives the same principle 2 times. In the 6 limbs which we devotees have to avoid, there also he says, Utsahan Atyahar Prayashascha Prajalpa Niyamagraha Jana Sangha. Jana Sangha means avoid the association of non-devotees. Again in the third verse, he says, Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairya Tattat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat. Again he says, Sangatyag, give up the association of non-devotees. Therefore, by such quotations, and scriptures are filled with the quotations of how a devotee should be very careful not to associate with non-devotees. And therefore, Prabhupada writes, so Rupa Goswami is quoting from this Katyayan Samhita. It is preferable to remain within a cage of blazing fire than to have the misfortune of living in association with persons who are opposed to thinking of the Lord. So when scriptures, they give extreme examples, we should know these examples are telling that how it is dangerous. There is another verse which is described, that which says that okay, I'm forgetting the verse, which the verse says that one should nishkinchanasya bhagavat bhajanonmukhasya param param jigimashor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishainam athayoshitam cha ha hanta hanta vishbhakshanato api asadhu. So this verse says nishkinchanasya, those devotees who are on the path of becoming nishkinchana, means giving up all material desires. Bhagavat bhajanonmukhasya, they are on the path of coming close to Krishna. What do they want? Param param jigimasho, they want to cross this ocean of material existence. What they should avoid? sandarshanam vishainam. They should even avoid seeing the face of those people who are sense gratifiers and those who are womenizers. It is better hanta hanta vishabhakshanato api asad. It is better to live in a cage full of poisonous snakes than to associate with non-devotees. So when such extreme examples are given in scriptures, we should understand that this is a serious thing, because if we are in a cage of snakes, full of snakes, what will happen? This material body will be destroyed, will die materially. This body will be destroyed. But if we are in association of non-devotees, our spiritual mentality, tendency, inclinations will be destroyed. The result will be birth after birth will be suffering in this cycle of birth and death. So therefore, the scriptures say it is very, very dangerous to associate with non-devotees. And Srila Prabhupada, he quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita, where one of the devotees, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that what is the general behavior of a Vaishnava? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said there, Asat Sangha Tyag E Vaishnava Achar. General behavior of a devotee is he gives up the company of non-devotees always. So that is, and then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has described about this Asat Sangha in Bhaktyaloka. It is a commentary of Nectar of Instruction. There he says there are 7 types of non-devotees we have to avoid. First is Mayavadis and atheists. And we've discussed about them in great detail in our Bhagavad Gita. Mayavadis means they reject the form of the Lord. They think I can also become God. Atheist means they don't believe in God. Sense enjoyers, completely attached to sense gratification. And those who are fond of sense enjoyment, so there is a difference. One person who is doing sense gratification, other person who is not doing sense gratification, but he wants to do sense gratification. He is also dangerous. Similarly, there are women. Women means for men it is women and for women it is man. Because when we are associating with opposite gender, it increases the lust. So therefore, women or womenizers, those who are attached to women, hypocritically devout. There are some people who make a show of devotion, show of religion. We are practicing religion in a very nice way. They are called dharma dhwaji. They have a flag of devotion, but flag of religion, but they are doing all sinful activities. We have to avoid them also. Ill-behaved, foolish outcasts. There are some low-class people who are following, not following any of the scriptural principles. We have to avoid them. Then from 12 to 14, in the one verse, Rupa Goswami gives 3 more principles: not accepting unfit disciples, constructing many temples, or reading many books. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the purport to this that a devotee who is a Vaishnava, who is a guru, he's not interested in making disciples. Therefore, Prabhupada writes with that although this is the principle that we should not accept disciples just to increase our name, fame, just to get service from them, but in our Krishna consciousness movement, we have to accept disciples because we have to propagate this movement, and without taking this risk, even if there is risk, for sure there is a risk, but a devotee is ready to take all the risks to preach this message of Krishna consciousness. And what is the principle of not accepting too many disciples? Why it is there? Because when somebody accepts disciples, then he gets so much praise from the disciples. So we should have that person should have the capacity to digest the praise and respect which comes. And there are many tapasvis, many Indian sadhus, gurus who have fallen down because of this problem. They could not digest the respect. Srila Prabhupada once, he was introduced to one person, very big person. His name was Alfred Ford. And devotees, they told him, Prabhupada, he is the great grandson of Alfred Ford, Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a very rich billionaire, well-known personality. And when Srila Prabhupada, he met this person, generally, when some great and very rich person and influential person comes to meet a teacher, spiritual teacher, he's given all the respects and all comforts. But Srila Prabhupada was not a teacher who would just puff up the ego of such type of people. He was very, very straightforward. And he asked him, Prabhupada asked Alfred Ford, so you are the son of Henry Ford? Where is he now? So that is a spiritual master. He is not interested in making disciples. He is interested in giving Krishna consciousness to everyone. So that is about accepting too many disciples. Then constructing many temples. Prabhupada writes, actually, we have no business to construct temples, but we are still constructing temples because people are attracted by magnificent structures. Somebody came to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, and Prabhupada was conducting a conference in a very big hotel. So one reporter raised his hand and said, Swamiji, you are conducting conference in such a posh hotel. A sadhu is supposed to live a simple life. So Prabhupada said, I can live under a tree and give a lecture. Will you come? So the purpose of constructing temples is to attract people to Krishna. And then reading many books. So Prabhupada writes, a bona fide spiritual master has no business reading many books simply to show his proficiency or to get popularity. Devotees should read books only to increase the faith. We should not read books to show to the devotees, just see, I know so much. So devotional knowledge should not be acquired to show your superiority. I know so much. I'll memorize verses. I will memorize bhajans. I will understand the philosophy so that I can show to the people how much I know. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada was very, very strong that we have to be really focused on reading his books only. We don't have to go anywhere. Prabhupada has given us ample amount of books which is sufficient for our whole life study. And if we study every book properly, we will not be having any philosophical problems. So that is what Prabhupada is writing here, about reading many books. Then 15th, he says, straightforwardness in ordinary dealings and equilibrium in loss and gain. Vyavahare api akarpanyam. So as devotees, we should be very, very straightforward in our dealings. Whenever problems come, miseries come in our life, we should not get disturbed. Loss, gain, happiness, distress, labha, alabha, jaya, ajaya. We should not be disturbed, because if somebody is disturbed mentally, he cannot remember the Lord with intelligence. It is very difficult for a person who is disturbed to focus in chanting, focus in scriptures. So therefore, Jiva Goswami here writes that this principle is applied by a devotee so that he can perform bhakti without any other distractions, but at the same time, devotee should be ready to take all anxiety for service. He should not be disturbed by seeing the external things, but a devotee should be ready to take all anxiety for service. As His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he was saying that along with our good intentions, sincerity of endeavor is also required to practice Krishna consciousness. We have to show our sincere endeavors. Jatayu had good intentions, but he showed his good intentions also by sincere endeavor. It was not required for him to fight with Ravana, but still he fought. He wanted to give his everything to please Lord Ram. So that is how sincerity of endeavor is also required. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he was coming to India, and he was coming to Vrindavan for the first time after this ISKCON was established. So there were some disciples already in Vrindavan, and one of the disciples was Gurudas Prabhu. So he thought So he landed in Delhi, and Gurudas Prabhu went to receive Srila Prabhupada from Vrindavan. All the while he was thinking, wow, Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee, and now he's coming to Vrindavan. So now Prabhupada he must be seeing Radha Krishna Leela and all the pastimes. So as he went to receive Srila Prabhupada, he had all these esoteric ideas. So, but when he met Prabhupada, Prabhupada was very silent. All the way while from Delhi to Mathura, he was chanting on his beads. He was not speaking anything. Then they entered Vrindavan. Now, Gurudas Prabhu, he was anticipating. Now Prabhupada will say something. Prabhupada continued chanting. And as they were coming closer, Prabhupada saw that the construction site of Krishna Balram temple. And then Srila Prabhupada said, cement. So Gurudas Prabhu was confused. What is cement? What cement has to do with Radha Krishna Leela? Then Prabhupada said, have you started acquiring cement? Because cement is the most essential thing. And those times getting cement was not so easy. So and Prabhupada gave all the whole plan of action for, this building of Krishna Balram temple, how they have to acquire cement bags. And then Gurudas Prabhu was saying, now that point I realized that bhakti is not some imaginative ecstasies. Bhakti is a practical devotion, practical activity. So therefore we have to be ready to take all discomforts, all anxieties to serve the Lord. But when it comes to personal distress, we should not be disturbed. So that is about straightforwardness in ordinary dealings. And this is called Shok Adi Ashavartya, not being controlled by lamentation or other emotions. So it is written, how is it possible for Mukunda to appear in the mind of a person whose mind is afflicted with lamentation, anger, or other emotions? Just like Vasudev. Vasudev, he lost all his children. He could not save any of them. Kamsa killed all the children of Vasudev one after another. But still, when Krishna took birth, and Krishna told Vasudev that now take me across Jamuna and put me in the home of Nanda Maharaj. The verse describing Vasudev says, Tatascha Shauri Bhagavat Prachoditaha Sutam Samadaya Sasautika Grihat. Tatascha Shauri. Shauri means a very brave person. What type of bravery Vasudev did? Vasudev, he refused to accept defeat. Even after he was failing again and again, he did not allow this emotion of lamentation and anger to come in his mind. He was focused on his service. He was not getting distracted by all these emotions. Because a devotee, he transcends the sorrows of the past, pains of the present, and the fear of the future. So that is how a devotee is. He's not troubled by all these emotions. And Prabhupada writes, a devotee should not become subjected to lamentation or illusion. Then 17th limb of the sadhana bhakti, Rupa Goswami says, Anya Devana Gya. We should not disrespect other devatas. So there it is written, one should always worship Hari, the Lord of the Masters of all devatas, but one should not disrespect other devatas like Brahma, Shiva, and others. So therefore, we have to understand, our heart is for Krishna, but we should offer all respects to all the devatas also, because they are also part and parcel of Krishna. They are also servants. They are great servants. They are in such a high position. So we have to respect them. One time, Prabhupada was with some devotees in India, and they were coming back from some engagement. And the host, they wanted to take Srila Prabhupada, he wanted to take Srila Prabhupada and the devotees to a Durga temple. And it was just constructed. So Prabhupada and all the devotees, they entered. All the disciples were thinking, why are we going to Durga temple? Durga is Maya Devi. We are worshippers of Krishna. We have nothing to do with Durga Devi. So Prabhupada, he did not say anything. He understood the emotions, but he entered Durga temple and he offered obeisances to deity of Durga, but he kept his right side towards the deity. Generally, when we offer obeisances, we keep our left side towards the deity. But when Srila Prabhupada he offered his obeisances to Durga Devi, he put his right side on towards the deity, and he got up. He did some prayers, and then as they returned back, Prabhupada said, "We bow down when we bow down to Radha Krishna. We have to keep our left side because our heart is for Krishna. But we offer all respects to all the devatas also." So therefore, Prabhupada was very, very careful. He was very telling devotees always that we should never disrespect devatas. One time, some Sankirtan devotees they sent letter to Prabhupada and they said that Prabhupada, we are thinking to keep the deity of Ganesha in Sankirtan man along with the Gaur Nitai, as it will increase our book distribution. So Prabhupada said, yes, you can keep, but other devotees they send me $50,000 per month per year. You should send me $1 lakh. So devotees said, no, no, Prabhupada, Gauranta is sufficient. Thank you very much. So Prabhupada, he encouraged everybody to respect the devatas, but we don't have to worship devatas. So an 18th is not giving pain to any living entity. Bhut anudvega daita. So a devotee is not even interested in killing an ant. And therefore, Prabhupada writes, a Vaishnava can never support animal slaughter or even give pain to any living entity. So therefore, we have to avoid giving pain to anyone physically, verbally, because the words which are spoken, they can give much more mental trauma than physical pain. Tongue is more powerful, than our physical pains we can give to others. As it is said, the wounds given by the tongue, they wounds given by the things on the body, they get healed in a week, but the wounds given by the tongue, they may take years to heal. So therefore we have to be really careful. One can do greatest service or greatest disservice by the tongue. So we can glorify Krishna, but if we blaspheme devotees, then it will, and blaspheme Krishna, and even criticize and disrespect other people, it is the greatest disrespect we can do to deities or to Krishna also. So this is the end of the 7th chapter, and then 8th chapter describes a 19th limb of this sadhana bhakti. And what is that 19th limb? 19th limb is the offenses to be avoided. There are two kinds of aparadha we have to avoid: seva aparadha and nam aparadha. Seva aparadha means the offenses we have to avoid when we are doing deity worship, and nam aparadha means the offenses we have to avoid in chanting the holy names. Because aparadha means that which takes us away from Radha. Radha comes from Radha. Radha means service, aradhana. So when we are doing offense, then that offense takes our mind away from service of Krishna. So therefore, in the seva aparad is less serious than nam aparad, because when we are doing some seva aparad, and if after performing some deity worship, and we did some offense, when we chant the holy names of the Lord and we pray to the Lord, please forgive me, then the seva aparad is forgiven. And it does not mean deliberately neglecting deity worship. One should not take this for granted. Okay, I'll do some deity worship in a neglectful way and I'll chant my rounds, it will suffice. No, we have to study the Vedas, practice deity worship, do deity worship with all attention. But if by chance some mistake happens, we have to ask for forgiveness. And therefore there are around 70 seva aparadha list which is given in this chapter, and there are 10 offenses which we recite every day, offenses against the holy name. These offenses are given in Padma Purana. So about this nam aparadha seva nam aparadha varjanam, It is described in Waves of Devotion by Dhanurjay Swami. We must carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy names and in chanting deity worship. And there he quotes a very beautiful line. He says, offenses. What is an offense? Offense is an attitude of arrogance or neglect of vehicles of spiritual energy in the material world. That is a very beautiful statement about what is an offense. So, neglect of what? It is an attitude which comes out of arrogance or neglect. We are neglecting what? The vehicles of spiritual energy, the deities and the holy names. They are the vehicles of spiritual energy. They are Krishna himself, but they are in the material world. But if we become arrogant and neglectful towards them, that is an offense. And therefore, Prabhupada writes that Rupa Goswami makes an important point about seva aparad. One should not allow himself to become neglectful in deity worship, thinking that the holy name will deliver him from his offenses. Chanting the holy name will deliver one from all offenses, but if one simply employs the holy name in this way, he offends the name. That is the seventh offense against the holy name. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy names of the Lord. So therefore, we should be very, very careful to be attentive. But if by chance we do some mistake, then we offer our prayers of forgiveness, of prayers of asking forgiveness. So therefore, Jeev Goswami says that first is avoidance of seva aparad is discussed, and then the list is given. List, I'll be displaying the list. There are 70 items. These lists are given in Varaha Puran, Padma Puran, and there are some Hari Bhakti Vilas. So these are the list of seva aparadha which is mentioned, and I'm not going to read all of them. You can read it in Nectar of Devotion book. So there are some details about what all very intricate details are given. Just like we should not spread our legs in front when we are sitting in front of the deities. We should not praise somebody else in front of the deities. Of course, when spiritual master is there, he's also representative of Krishna. When we are glorifying deities, Krishna, that is also glorification of Krishna in one sense. So that is included. That is not a problem. So there are so many lists which are described. 70 items are there, and then there are 10 offenses. So this is the completion of the 8th chapter. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. There is a question, why is Ganesha considered to be important in ISKCON? We also have a Murti of Ganesha. Yeah, because Ganesha, Ganpati, is called Vignaharta. He is given the power to remove the obstacles, and we respect that. And it is not that if somebody is worshipping, we are not worshipping Ganpati, we are offering respects, because he is Vignaharta. So when our approach should be devatas is, when we approach any devata, we should pray that, O Ganpati, O Lord Shiva, O Durga Devi, please remove the obstacles in the path of my devotional service. So therefore, Ganpati is given a power by which he can remove the obstacles from the path. So therefore, we have to give that respect to Lord Ganpati and pray that, oh my Lord Ganpati, please remove all the obstacles from the path of my devotional service also. So that is why this Ganpati Murti is there. We respect Ganpati ji also. We offer garland, we change the dresses of Ganpati every day. So that is how we have to show respect to Lord Ganesha, because Ganesha is given the power to remove the obstacles on the path. Who is called an unfit disciple? So unfit disciple is that disciple, there are various types of disciple. One disciple is, if you tell him somebody and he will, even before telling something, the disciple knows the heart of the spiritual master and he does the job without even telling. Second type of disciple, he has to be told, okay, you do this, and he performs that work. Third type of disciple is, he's told something, but he comes back and he asks, क्या बोला था आपने, भूल गया, दोबारा बताइए, so, and then he has to be told many times, and then he performs. Last type of disciple is, even if you tell him n number of times, he will do something else also only. So he is not a right type of disciple. So disciple means discipline. We have to be ready to follow all the rules and regulations given in the scriptures. We have to be ready to follow the instructions given by the superiors, given by spiritual master, senior devotees. So that is our ideal disciple. So like that. Is Lord Chaitanya any quantity less than Lord Krishna? No, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. So therefore Lord Chaitanya has also all the 64 qualities as Lord Krishna, because he is Krishna himself. Like that. Okay, so we'll stop here. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.